Hello and welcome to another episode of Auditory Odyssey, your one-stop shop for all things music talk from death metal to Disney and blast beats to ballads. We've got you covered. I'm your host Brennan, and on today's episode we're going to be diving headfirst into the wizarding world of Harry Potter. The Harry Potter films are not just stories told by images, but they're symphonies of magic. And today we embark on a 20-minute auditory odyssey into the music that defined a generation of wizardry. Together, we're going to explore how four composers come together to shape the sound of Harry's journey from childhood to the wonder of the epic finale. And we're going to start off with the music of John Williams. Williams is the legendary mastermind and composer who brought us the music from Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, and in 2001 he gave us Harry Potter. His Hedwig's theme is the heartbeat of the franchise. Listen closely, with its bell-like shimmer, it evokes a magical wonder. It's not just Hedwig's theme, it's the sonic identity of the entirety of the wizarding world. Williams built a tapestry of motifs for the films, which every composer after him would inevitably inherit. One such theme is known as the friendship theme, which was a tender and warm underscoring for Harry, Ron, and Hermione, which really highlights their bond. It's not really used beyond the first three films, however, it stands the test of time as one of my personal favorite themes from John Williams. And here's a sample of this motif. Another notable John Williams theme for the films is the Nimbus 2000 motif, which has more of a playful and energetic feel, and was written to capture the thrill of Quidditch. This theme uses some very staccato bassoon and oboe licks that are carried by other woodwinds. And here we'll listen to a sample of that theme. Williams was already a legend at the time of writing Harry Potter's music, and for Harry Potter he faced a unique challenge, which was how to capture the sound of magic. And his answer, quite simply, was to use instruments often associated with fairy tales, such as the celesta. The bell-like timbre feels childlike, delicate, and almost crystalline. Across the first three films, Williams builds a musical language. In The Chamber of Secrets, he expands upon Hedwig's theme and twists it into a more darker variation as the story grows more perilous. And in Prisoner of Azkaban, he experiments with some medieval instruments such as recorders and tambourines, even a haunting choir. And this kind of evokes an ancient magic. The third score is perhaps the boldest, blending jazz rhythms with Renaissance textures, and really shows his willingness to reinvent the sound of Hogwarts. What really makes Williams so enduring is his ability to balance the score. He never lets the music become too childish nor too heavy. Instead, he walks a tightrope, capturing the duality of childhood innocence and a looming threat. His scores remind us that Harry's world is enchanting but also dangerous, and that tension is the essence of the saga. Though Williams only scored the first three films, his Hedwig's theme became the DNA of the franchise, and Patrick Doyle, Nicholas Hooper, and Alexandre Desplat all returned to it. It's the thread that binds the entire series together. Without Williams, the sound of Harry Potter would not exist. So when you hear those opening notes, remember that they are more than music. They are the spell cast by John Williams, the wizard of sound, who gave us not just a theme, but a world. And as we leave behind the first three films and John Williams' scoring, we now step into the world of Patrick Doyle and his more darkening tone. Doyle scores Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, in which the series itself is starting to change, as Harry is no longer a child discovering magic. He's a teenager facing danger. He has a rivalry, and his first real taste of mortality. And with this shift, the music changes too. Doyle is a Scottish composer known for his lush emotional scores in films such as Sense and Sensibility and Henry V, and his arrival in Harry Potter marks a turning point in the sonic identity of the films. Where John Williams painted Hogwarts with whimsy and wonder, Doyle brings in the drama and intensity. His score for Goblet of Fire is muscular, bold, and cinematic. The Triwizard Tournament cues are a perfect example of this. There's brass fanfares blazing, percussion pounding like a heartbeat, and the orchestra surging with adrenaline. The music is really escalating the stakes and showing that this is no longer a game of spells and charms, but more of a deadly competition where lives are at risk. Yet Doyle is not only about the spectacle, he understands that adolescence is also about vulnerability. His cue, Harry in Winter, is one of the most lyrical pieces in the entire saga. There's tender strings, delicate piano, and a soaring melody capturing Harry's first brush with romance and emotional depth. It's a moment of stillness in a film otherwise filled with chaos, reminding us that beneath the danger, Harry is still a boy learning what it means to love and to lose. And here I'll play a sample from Harry in Winter. Now let's listen to a piece from the Yule Ball sequence, where Doyle expands the palette of the wizarding world into an elegant waltz with festive dancing. It's tinged with sophistication, and it's really a musical portrait of Hogwarts students stepping into adulthood, trading their childish games for the more complexities of teenage life. And this piece is called Potter Waltz. Now leaning into some of the more darker themes that Doyle writes, his treatment of the resurrection of Voldemort scene is very chilling. It's got some low strings rumbling. There's the dissonant brass that pierces and a choir rising like a dark incantation. The music doesn't just accompany Voldemort's return, it actually embodies it. And the score tells us that the innocence of the early films is gone. Darkness has arrived, and it's not leaving. And here's a clip from one of Doyle's pieces, which is simply titled Voldemort. Patrick Doyle's contributions are often overlooked, but are vital, as he bridges the gap between Williams's magical world and the later composer's darker realism. His score is the hinge of the saga, the moment when Harry's world tilts from childhood fantasy into teenage peril. Without Doyle, the transition would feel abrupt. With him, it feels inevitable. So the next time you're watching The Goblet of Fire, remember, Patrick Doyle gave Harry Potter its adolescence. He gave us the wizarding world's first taste of maturity, and in doing so, he prepared us for everything that was to come. Next, we dive into the third composer of the Harry Potter series, who is Nicholas Hooper. And Nicholas did the scores for Order of the Phoenix and The Half-Blood Prince. And by the time we reach Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, the wizarding world is really starting to get darker. It's much more fractured and more personal. Hooper was not a blockbuster name like John Williams or Patrick Doyle. Hooper was a British film and television composer and guitarist who scored award-winning BBC documentaries such as The Land of the Tiger and Andes to the Amazon. Hooper's approach is subtle, restrained, and deeply emotional. Where Williams gave us sweeping symphonies and Doyle gave us operatic drama, Hooper pares things down. He uses smaller ensembles, acoustic textures, and quieter instrumentation. His music reflects Harry's isolation and the growing tension within Hogwarts. Take the cue Possession from the Order of the Phoenix. It's a haunting, almost minimalistic, low strings pulse, like a heartbeat, with dissonant harmonies that creep in, and the music kind of feels claustrophobic. It mirrors Harry's internal struggle as Voldemort invades his mind. This is not music for spectacle, it's music for psychology, and Hooper draws us inside Harry's head, letting us feel the fear and confusion that words alone could not capture. Hooper also introduces moments of fragile beauty. In Fireworks, when Fred and George unleash the chaos in Umbridge's regime, the score bursts in with some playful energy, and yet even here the orchestration is leaner and more focused. It's rebellion, but rebellion with precision, and Hooper's music never loses sight of character. By the time we reach Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Hooper's style starts to mature further. The score is bittersweet and tinged with melancholy. Hogwarts starts to feel less like a sanctuary and more like a place under siege. The cue, Dumbledore's Farewell, is a masterclass in restraint. Instead of swelling strings and thunderous brass, Hooper gives us fragile harmonies that are almost hesitant. The music mourns quietly, as if afraid to disturb the silence of grief. It is one of the most poignant moments in the entire saga. Hooper's contributions are often described as intimate, but in this case intimacy does not mean small. His scores carry weight precisely because they whisper instead of shouting. They remind us that the greatest battles are not always fought with wands and courtyards. They are fought within hearts and minds. His music underscores the emotional costs of war, the loneliness of leadership, and the fragility of hope. In the grand arc of the series, Hooper serves as a bridge between Doyle's operatic adolescence and Desplat's apocalyptic finale. He grounds the saga in human emotion, ensuring that when the battle comes, we care deeply about the people fighting them. Without Hooper, Harry Potter scores might risk becoming pure spectacle, and because of him, they remain stories of friendship, loss, and resilience. Hooper gives Harry Potter its soul. He gave us music that listens as much as it speaks. Music that whispers truths we might otherwise miss. In his hands, the wizarding world became not just magical, but profoundly human. And now we arrive at the final chapter of our musical journey, and this is the end game for the wizarding world. For the last two films, Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2, the baton passes to Alexandre Desplat. And Desplat is a composer known for elegance, precision, and emotional clarity. His music is refined and almost architectural. Every note is placed with intention, and that makes him the perfect voice for the final descent into darkness. Desplat approaches Harry Potter with a sense of restraint and maturity. Gone are the whimsical flourishes of Williams, the operatic dramas of Doyle, and even the intimate fragility of Hooper. Desplat's world is colder, it's sharper and more fragile, because by this point, the wizarding world itself is breaking. Listen to the opening cue of Deathly Hallows Part 1, titled Obliviate. Soft strings, aching harmonies, and a melody that feels like a memory is dissolving in your hands. Hermione erases herself from her parents' lives, and Desplat's music doesn't just underscope the moment, it is the moment, it is the loss, it is the sacrifice. It is the quiet cost of war. Desplat understands that the emotional weight of the finale isn't in the battles, it's in what the characters must give up to survive. Throughout Part 1, Desplat builds a soundscape of tension and unease. His rhythms are tight, pulsing, and almost mechanical. The trio is on the run, and the music never lets us forget that. In cues such as the Seven Potters and the Sky Battle, the orchestra becomes a living engine, strings racing, brass stabbing, and percussion pounding like the footsteps in the dark. Desplat's action writing is not bombastic. It's precise, relentless, and suffocating. It mirrors the paranoia of a world where danger lurks behind every tree, every shadow, and every silence. Desplat also knows when to let the music breathe. In Godric's Hollow Graveyard, the score becomes a whisper, cold, hollow, and almost brittle. Sparse piano notes fall like snowflakes on the stone. It is one of the most hauntingly beautiful moments in the entire series. Desplat paints the scene not with sweeping emotion, but with quiet devastation. He understands that grief is not always loud. Sometimes it's the softest sound in the world. Later in Deathly Hallows Part 2, Desplat unleashes the full force of the finale. The battle for Hogwarts is not just a fight, it's an apocalypse, and the music rises to meet it. In the cue Statues, the orchestra erupts with pounding rhythms and soaring brass as McGonagall summons the stone guardians of the castle. It is heroic, yes, but also desperate, and the music tells us that this is the last stand. And then in Courtyard Apocalypse, one of the most powerful pieces in the entire franchise, Desplat layers strings in relentless waves, building tensions that never resolve. The harmony churns, the rhythm drives forward, and the melody strains under its own weight. It is the sound of a world collapsing. It's the sound of war. It's the sound of everything Harry has ever known being torn apart. Amidst the chaos, Desplat never loses lyricism. His music mourns even as it battles. In Lily's theme, which opens part 2, a childlike soprano sings a melody that is both innocent and tragic. It is a lullaby for a world on fire. It reminds us that the heart of this story is love, fragile, powerful, and enduring. Desplat's greatest achievement is balance. He gives us grandeur without excess, emotion without sentimentality, and action without noise. His music is a perfect culmination of the saga, refined, mature, and deeply human. He closes the circle that Williams began, and not by imitating the past, but by honoring it with his own voice. So the next time you find yourself watching Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2, when you hear the pounding rhythms of statues or the aching beauty of Lily's theme, remember this. Alexandre Desplat gave Harry Potter its ending. He gave the wizarding world its final heartbeat, and in those final notes he reminds us that even in darkness there is beauty. Even in the endings there is grace. Thank you for listening to this episode of Auditory Odyssey and joining me on this journey through the music of the wizarding world, from the shimmering celesta of John Williams to the bold drama of Patrick Doyle and the intimate whispers of Nicholas Hooper, and finally to the elegant finality of Alexandre Desplat. We've traced a musical arc that is just as rich and complex as Harry's own story. These scores shape the films. They give breath to the magic, weight to the danger, a voice to the emotions too deep for dialogue alone. They also carry us from the innocence to the darkness, from the wonder to the war, from the first flutter of Hedwig's wings all the way to the last quiet notes of a world rebuilt. The music of Harry Potter leaves us with a mark of magic that isn't just something you see, it's something you feel, in a melody, in a harmony, in a single note that lingers long after the story ends. You can find Auditory Odyssey on Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, and YouTube, so wherever you listen, we're there to guide you. Until next time, keep listening closely, as there's magic to be found between the notes.